Okay, I'm Brandon Massoni, and I'll be talking about additive manufacturing in space. And that's just a picture of, yeah, the Star Trek Enterprise. So first, I'm going to talk about SACI, and I presented them earlier. They do really big electron beam additive manufacturing with machines up to 19 feet by 4 feet of 4 feet. I guess that's actual build volume of what's possible, and they can do a lot of different metals, titanium and tantalum, Inconel, some of these higher cost metals. They were founded in 1939, headquarters in Chicago. They have about 50 employees, and they do stuff in the defense and space. So they've partnered with NASA, and what I'm going to show you next is one of their partnerships with Lockheed Martin, where they're doing a satellite propellant tanks. So these are really expensive tanks to produce, and they have quite a bit of lead time. So what they did with Lockheed Martin was develop this process for them where it's using their EBAM machine, which is a $4 million machine, using titanium, and the build volume of this machine is approximately 5 feet in diameter. So that's the size of ball they could do, or propellant tank on this particular machine. And the build rate's between 7 to 15 pounds per hour. And so the benefits, or some of the system information, so it holds hydrazine for satellites, which is the fuel that satellites use, and it's really not a nice, pleasant fuel. It's very powerful, and you don't want to touch it or breathe it. And so it's also very expensive, and it takes a long time to get these. And satellites are more of you don't generally produce a lot of satellites at once. So it makes a lot of sense to use this process. So the benefits are that it was half the cost of what they traditionally order from the manufacturer. So the manufacturer is actually starting to compete with now this additive process that they realize that Lockheed Martin might switch to. There's a much shorter lead time. It's actually done in-house now for Lockheed Martin. They purchased the machine, and now they're doing it in-house because it worked. And then there's just a lot of less material waste out of it. So the second one is from SpaceX, founded in 2002, headquartered out of California, 3,000 employees, and they have about $5 billion in contracts. That's Elon Musk in front of the Dragon 2. And one of the parts was 3D printed on this. And so I guess what's interesting about both these parts that I'm showing in space is that they're both very critical components, especially this component. It's the combustion chamber for the Super Draco engines. It was direct metal laser sintered with Inconel. And so the printed part is shown on the left, and the assembly there is shown on the right. And there's, I think, 4 of those assemblies on the on the Dragon 2 that provide the thrust. So these engines are restartable, and the idea is that they'd like to land with their engines and reuse them, so they're not just throwing away the engines every time. And so they had their first successful flight test with all 8 Super Draco engines firing just last month, May 6th. And so the benefits of doing this with 3D printing was it went to concept to hot fire in just over 3 months. Really fast turnaround for design to production. And then so these thrusters, I don't know if there were any design changes that were made because it was additively manufactured, but they have 16,400 pounds of thrust, which is 200 times more than the previous thruster engine they used on the Dragon. I'm sure it's a completely different design. So this is actually the second most powerful engine that SpaceX makes. So there's a much bigger one that's a lot more powerful that they make as well. But this was printed. The combustion chamber was printed out of Inconel, which is pretty interesting. I don't. And so those are my references. Yeah.